Is Argo blockchain stock ARBK a POS, or is it a diamond in the rough? I'm still trying to figure that out. Maybe you can provide some insight and help to me, and I'll show you what I've got so far. But just to be upfront, I'm not a financial advisor. This is not stock advice. This is just me going through some due diligence that I have spent the past, few hours putting together. So I hope y'all, take this with a grain of salt and are also interested in providing some additional insight into this company as well. Because just to lay it down, I think Argo blockchain is I think the owners of the company are just paying themselves with this stock. There seems to be a lot of emphasis on how many shares they receive for their work, and there's a whole remuneration policy for that. And it seems to be what the major topic of the annual meeting was about. And if you look at all of the 6Ks, which I'll show you here, all of them basically increase the share amount. So I don't think that all of them are hitting the market at the same time. I think that the shareholders, the owners of the company that are receiving all of these shares as part of their salary, I think they're only selling when they need to. But it's just not, the stock is not performing as well as it certainly could if these people would just take a regular paycheck. Let me show you. So we've got here the Argo website. They don't have a whole lot of hash power, 2.7 exahash. I mean, for a publicly traded Bitcoin miner, that seems to be sort of floating, stagnating along. I guess it's all right. They don't consume too much power. I could see that being increased. Share price currently at $1.31. We'll go over that in many of the tabs that I've got up there. And that's some other stock exchange or something like that. But this is who is running this ship, and the CEO, Thomas Chippas. I don't know if it's just like his idea, or like there was a precedent set before all of these people came together, or how long. I haven't really dove too deep in how long each of these people have been there, but they are definitely paying themselves with the shares of the company. That's exactly what the remuneration policy is about, which is right here. It explicitly breaks down exactly what a person's salary could be. Like, here we go. What his salary could be, and then down here it'll explain how based on how many shares and share units or whatever that they've got. His total compensation package could be anywhere from, $400,000, which is nothing to sneeze at, all the way up to $6 million. Who knows over how long of a time, if that's 1 year, or if that's, the performance share units is what they're called, are accumulated or distributed over a long period of time. But it does appear to me that they are using this stock to pay themselves and to get rich. And, I kind of don't blame them, because it's sort of the society we're in right now. But just sort of looking at things, just reading the writing on the wall, I had high hopes for this stock. I am an investor in it. I own shares of Argo blockchain still. And I am up like 5%. So, and I've had it for over 6 to 8 months now. And I really had higher hopes for a better performance, because if you look, come on, there we go. The shares outstanding, at least according to Fidelity, is, really, really attractive. And the market cap is only 75 million. So if you read through, I'll show you that in a second. If you read through their 6Ks, like I said, basically all of these tell you that they're increasing shares to pay their employees, and that's basically they all say the same thing. But here's the Q 2024 financial results, and they only have 11 Bitcoin on their balance sheet. That's it. They have 11. That's like just a couple of $1 million. Just a couple of. Hold on. Not even. It's $715,000. So they were mining 3.5 Bitcoin per day. That has now obviously been cut in half to 1.5 or 1.25 Bitcoin, 1.75 Bitcoin per day. It's not good. They are not mining 319 like they were. They are, if you look at their earnings per share, like they have yet to post a profitable quarter, which isn't good, and they're not projected to post a profitable quarter either, so that is also not good. And it really kind of astounds me, like, why? Because they really should have better they have these spikes, and I'm honestly not sure what these spikes are about. Like, maybe it was part of the hype of the run up into the Bitcoin ETFs, but the Bitcoin ETFs finally get released right around here, and it continues to dump. It doesn't go off with the rest of the market. So something about this stock is just not performing, and maybe they're just getting squeezed because they don't have the hash power to keep up, and they probably have expenses that they're scrambling to figure out how to try and pay, because they weren't making any money to begin with, and now with their revenues cut in half, now they're not going to be making even less money. So what do? I have no idea. If you look at their operations, they have two locations. They've got this Comeo, however you say that, small plant. It's hydroelectric, so that means that it will probably have consistent power, very little downtime. But it's also only a 15 megawatt plant, so not very big. The Helios plant in Dickens County, Texas, so that's why I keep pulling this up. This is where Dickens County, Texas is. And they have a nice courthouse. So I thought, that would be cool. I like these old buildings, they're kind of neat. All the, the ground level windows and, just the stonework and all, it's very nice. You should look into old buildings like this. They're very, very interesting, much more than they lead on at the face. So this is Dickens County, and I've driven through Texas, and I, was born and raised in Texas. It's very windy up in this panhandle area, and which is a good thing because their Helios plant is predominantly wind energy. And when the state of Texas is too hot or too cold, or the energy grid is sustained, is required to produce a lot of energy for a long period of time, these plants will shut down, and they'll get a kickback from the state of Texas to do that, from loss of operations. But their power source is intermittent as well. So it sort of, is the balancing act of being a large scale Bitcoin miner, where you have to deal with the renewable energy resource energy production, which is intermittent, and it's not always windy. I mean, it's fairly windy all the time out there, but it's like not 99 days out of 100. Like, it'll probably be windy, but you might have a couple of days where the wind doesn't blow and you're not going to get any power. So and then you also don't know how much. It can be breezy one day, but then really gusty the next. So you're really unsure of exactly. Maybe this 180 megawatts is the maximum amount of power that it's able to consume, and they are able to produce however much Bitcoin based on of that. But, the wind power thing sort of, it's just because it's intermittent and you're unable to control it as much or as well. But, good on them for using renewable energy sources. But as far as a stock goes, I really thought that they would have done a lot better. I found also the frequently asked questions only, and it says this was updated recently, but they only talk about F shares, and I don't really get why that would be the only stock information for investors. That's the only PDF you have down here. Then you've got your annual meetings, where I found the remuneration policy and the general meeting, which was also listed on the Fidelity website. It's in there somewhere, but I do like the share structure. If this is accurate and correct, which I trust Fidelity to be accurate and correct, and they do have options. So I just I feel like if you were in these late 2024 2025 call options, you probably couldn't go wrong with, because the puts are definitely expensive right now because the price has been pushed down so much that I don't know what you're going to get out of that. But to throw in some call options might not be a bad idea, just in case, because they're dirt cheap right now. You could probably get them closer to the bid than the ask. Especially, the 2.5. I wouldn't go quite up to, I don't think, but it has been very close to $5 before in the past, if not past it. So it went up to this $4 range right there, and I could definitely see it doing that again because it's bounced from an even lower level, from like $1 something all the way up to $4. But we are currently at $1.30, and I could definitely see it moving and making some good big moves, but I'm just not seeing it right now, and I don't fully understand why. Maybe it's just the shareholders and the employees and the board just selling into this, all the rallies that we've experienced so far, except for the last few months, basically would be this right here. But this chunk of price action right here should be up here, and then it should probably be going sideways. That would make more sense to me, but they or somebody or someone has started to sell hard into this right here. So that's unfortunate to see. I really do think that it's undervalued right now. And speaking of undervalued, if you go down to here, even this fundamental analysis provided by Fidelity has it at a very, very high 96 undervalued score. With a very high quality level as well. Growth stability is low, which is sort of like what I mentioned about the intermittent energy production of the wind power facility, even though it is large at, what do I say, 115 megawatt facility or something like that. Like, that's good. And I don't understand how they get a relatively okay, healthy financial health score out of this. I don't understand that at all. I don't think they're in a good, really financial position, considering that they need more Bitcoin on their balance sheet, and they are only mining 1.5 Bitcoin per day. So if you take 1.5 Bitcoin per day, current price 65K, that's $97,500 per day. So 365 days is 30. We can round up and have be generous, give them $36 million of revenue before all of the expenses that they're incurring, which I haven't gone too deep into. So that's the max amount that they can make. And to have a market cap of roughly twice that, I feel like, it could be a lot greater. We could be 10 times this, and still, because there are zombie companies out there that make a lot less money, or like Uber running in huge deficits for, nearly a decade before they actually turn a profit. This company is still maintaining a profit because that's the only, unless they're just selling shares, and that's the only way they're staying afloat. But the share count hasn't really increased since I've been watching it, and I don't think it's going to that much, although the insiders they have their shares and they are selling them, but through their compensation package. I just think that this has potential, but it does not look good right now. It is not, which is sort of the contrarian investor in me that thinks that because it doesn't look good, maybe there's something to it. But then you also don't want to get caught in your own trap of maybe because it isn't performing well because it's not worth anything. So you got to watch out there. But, and then if you go on to Yahoo, I was also looking for that chart that they have of the shares outstanding, but I couldn't find it. I found a general one, but I don't think it was quite accurate. There's quite a lot of news that's been put out about Argo, and it's not great. It's not, awesome. And if they could, if the insiders and if the board of directors and the employees would stop taking shares as payment, and if they would just, if the company would stop selling shares to pay for things, maybe that's why that's the only way that they're afloat. But if they were able to do all of that, then I could definitely see all the share price finally picking up. Oh my God. But I think these people are too greedy, and the second that the share price goes up, that they just sell into it, so good for them. They found a way to make a whole lot of money, but as an investor, it doesn't, until they stop doing that, which, is sort of still my speculation, but, I just don't see that it's going to go anywhere. Maybe, if you were to accumulate, I would have no problem accumulating now down in this zone. I would hesitate more up in the $4 area. I do still think that if it were to go back up there, that we could see further price appreciation beyond $4, because that would be roughly at a $200 to $300 million market cap, and then at $4, and then if we were all the way up at roughly say 1 billion, that would lead us to like a $12-ish share price. And I think a $1 billion company, considering where Bitcoin is going to go, and considering that there's lots of other companies out there that don't make any money that are worth $1 billion, quote unquote, that are at least on paper worth $1 billion. I think Argo blockchain could easily be worth $1 billion on paper if a couple of things, and it wouldn't take much, were to change. If they would just have a meeting, and if they would actually follow through with it and say, we're not going to take shares as payment anymore, and we're going to take a regular salary like ordinary people, then the share price would go up, and those employees and the board of directors would make a lot of money by just holding onto their shares instead of just selling into it and feeling like they're just kings on top of the world. So this is part of the reason why I don't really like investing sometimes, is because you run into things like this. And really, situations like this are what make me think that Bitcoin is the end-all, be-all. Even investing in Bitcoin miners obviously has its drawbacks, because you have the board of directors, you've got the mining equipment that becomes, or it doesn't become less, I guess it does become less efficient, because you're getting less Bitcoin out of it, and you're also competing against more hash power that's coming onto the network every single day, although hash power has been dropping recently, but that's another story for now. It's a good business to be in if you can keep your head above water, and I just feel like, even though there are a lot of constraints to what they do and the 2 facilities that they own and operate, if they can open a 3rd facility, or if they could work with like BitAxe or NerdMiner to develop a small at-home, even project-style Bitcoin miner that was more mainstream friendly, let's say, like an Apple product that you could pull out of a box and just sort of plug in and set up and fiddle with it for a little bit, and then just kind of watch it go, or maybe come up with some other marketing aspect to what they do that would give them more sales on top of just mining Bitcoin. I do think that these Bitcoin miners need to have alternative streams of income to pivot onto in times of like right after the halvening like we are in right now, and in long bear markets like we will be in probably, you could say that we're in a short-term bear market right now, but in the next, beyond 12 to 18 months, at the end of that will be the beginning of the next bear market. And they need to, if Argo blockchain wants to continue selling shares in the future, they're going to have to be able to survive that. So selling shares now is not going to be very helpful in the future, when they're going to be strapped for cash anyway, because the halving is eating their lunch already. and so are the other Bitcoin miners. So that, I think, is going to do it. Like I said, I had a whole lot more hope for Argo blockchain, but it's evident that the board of directors don't care a whole lot. You know, I bought, in the middle of 2023, and I've held, and I saw this and I thought great things, but it's just not performing. This is when the Bitcoin price started to go down, so I kind of don't blame them for that. And I could definitely see it taking off just suddenly, but they're going to have to come up with some really good news, some legitimate good news that they're actually going to keep and act on for the share and just sentiment. All it really is just sentiment. If you had some shareholders that were really excited about what Argo is going to be doing in the next 12 to 18 months, beyond just mining Bitcoin and making money from that, I definitely think that you could get a whole lot of people on board and make a whole lot of money. So that'll be that. Like I said, not a financial advisor. This is not financial advice. This is just me, a guy on the internet talking. So I hope y'all have a good evening, and we'll see you next time.